Hello and welcome back to Bichao, and today with me I have what you can call the rarest Fiat ever sold in India. This is the Fiat Aventura Abarth. Actually, this is the Fiat Aventura powered by Abarth. Not much of a difference, but I will get to that later. Also, I will take you through this entire car, what all unique features this car had, why was this car so cool, also why did it unfortunately not sell, and then we'll take it on the road and see how it drives. Alright, first things first, this no doubt and by far is one of the quirkiest looking Fiats in the entire country. This car was built specifically at a period where every car manufacturer was running behind creating compact crossovers, because that is what they thought the market is demanding, that is what they thought that the market needed. And to be fair, they were not wrong. The compact crossovers after that completely took over, and those are the cars which are sold the most in this particular segment and category of car. That said, this was one of those first cars that actually started the whole trend, but unfortunately, while it was the trend starter, it was never the one which sustained that trend and went too far. Unfortunately, there were only about 356 units of the Punto Evo Abarth, which this car is based on, that were sold in India, and this car sold a lot less. शायद 100 से 150 यूनिट इस गाड़ियों के मैक्सिमम पूरे इंडिया में बिके थे. And this over here is one of those cars which is in a pristinely beautiful, pristinely well maintained example of powered by Abarth Aventura, as you can see. Now this car had a few differentiators which made it quite a lot different than the regular Punto Evo. What Fiat did is that Fiat actually went to the lengths of making this car actually, of course, roadworthy. The Evo platform already was, but the roadworthiness was taken to the next level where they gave it a lot of off-road credibility as well by creating this one, the Aventura. Now, as you can see visually, definitely the one thing that is clearly different about this car is this spare wheel situation, which is also very cool actually. It is not how you normally would imagine you open the boot. Now if you see over here, there is a boot release button. You press this and that doesn't open the boot, but what it does is here, that is basically now unlocked this spare wheel and its supporting beam. Now what you do is you come back over here and you see this, you press this in, and this is what basically releases the entire spare wheel hinge until you hear this lock. That means this is now locked and it will not go back, which means it is also safe to put your hand down over here and pull this out to open or to access the boot. And now what you do when you have to close it, just like a normal hatchback, just put the boot down and then you come over here. Then you once again press this so that this spring lock is released, and then you can bring this all the way back over here, but don't close it. Keep it here and then gently press it from here. That is how you access the rear hatchback. Apart from that, another important change on this car was that this car actually had 20 mm taller suspensions to give it a lot more better ground clearance. This car actually had the same kind of ground clearance as your Renault Duster SUV. 205 mm of ground clearance is what this car got, which actually gave it not just a look of a compact crossover which could do off-road, but an actual capable compact crossover which could actually do off-road. And not just that, now when the ground clearance of this car was raised compared to the normal regular Punto, that meant that the center of gravity of this car was also raised. And to combat that, what Fiat also did, I'm pretty sure you'll not be able to see it from down here, but if you look down there, you will also find an anti-roll bar. The anti-roll bar was given to the car so that it handles better in corners and it still maintains a lot of its cornering dynamics. How much that has worked is something we need to take this car out for a drive and see. Apart from that, another cool part about this car was that it was not just a car that looked like a warm hatch, but it was actually powered by an engine that made it a pretty reasonable and pretty decent warm hatch. This is actually the same 1.4 liter T-Jet engine that you will find in the Punto Abarth and also the T-Jet Linea, and this engine produced 140 horsepower and it was turbocharged. That combined with the power to weight ratio of this car meant that this car was actually pretty fast. That said though, the weak point about this particular car or the Punto or the Linea, any of these cars with the 1.4 liter turbocharged engine was not the engine, but in fact the weak point was actually inside, and that was basically this part. As many of you know, people who've already driven Fiats, the ones that were sold in India, the Puntos, they had a very, very rubbery gearbox, and this was the thing that actually slowed it down. We'll get back to this a little bit later when we take this car out for a drive, but just look at the interiors. I think the interiors look, I mean, they are simple, they're nothing too showy or nothing too fancy, but at the same time very sporty. It's all blacked out over here on the inside. You've got some nice retro modernistic dials over here, and here if you see is another quirky feature which was very specific and only available with this, the Aventura Abarth. What you have over here are two inclinometers. This one basically shows what level your car is from front to back, and then this meter over here is the one that shows you what level are you doing laterally, like this. And then you have another meter over here which is basically your compass to tell you which direction you are heading in. Then again, it had this touchscreen unit which is currently off. I mean, I can turn it on, it's working, but it's currently off. And the quirky bit about this is that this unit was actually powered by Microsoft. This actually had an operating system, or the software which was used to run this was actually provided by Microsoft. Now, what you see over here, these seats have been reupholstered by the owner, but just look at everything over here. This is a car which is super difficult to maintain because of how rare this car is. You don't find a lot of parts of this car. The unique parts that this car had, apart from the regular Punto Evo, were these, of course, this bar which your spare wheel is mounted, but also these bumpers, the cladding, all this black cladding on the side, these were also super rare because they only came with the Aventura as well as the Aventura Urban Cross, so they were fairly rare. The bumper on the front is also different, the bumper at the rear is also different. It also had this integrated look down over here which looks like a skid plate, but it's not a skid plate, it's actually made out of plastic only. Yeah, and also one more thing over here on top, you will find, like a lot of cars from this era, especially hatchbacks, they had this roof rail, but in most cases the roof rail was actually not very functional. This is actually a functional roof rail where the owner still uses it to take this car out camping, and he puts more than 50 kilos of weight on top of it without any problems. This by far and easily has to be one of the most quirkiest Fiats ever sold in India. I kind of like this car a lot because it kind of serves both purposes. It serves the purpose of being a kind of fast, kind of warm hatchback with 140 horsepower and good enough torque, and Fiats, their steering is brilliant, their handling is brilliant, so a nice fast-ish kind of a hot hatch which can actually go off-road as well because it's got 205 mm ground clearance, just the same as a Duster. It's got a spare wheel mounted over there at the back, and it also has an anti-roll bar to make sure that the handling is not compromised too much by that increase in ground clearance. Alright, all that is good in theory, but what we actually need to do is now take the keys of this car, have a seat inside, and take it out for a spin. Alright, so this is the first time that I am actually sitting, or I am driving a Aventura Abarth. Aventura powered by Abarth. Now, not much of a difference between both the cars. The Abarth engine was about 145 horsepower, which was in the Linea T-Jet, and this car is about 140 horsepower, so like 5 horsepower difference. You can still pretty much call it an Abarth, which it is. And I am right now on some really bad, I mean, it is actually off-roading is what I'm doing, and I mean 205 mm of ground clearance. This car doesn't touch anywhere. The suspensions do feel a little stiff, but of course they should be because this is a hatchback primarily, so it is primarily made for use on tarmac roads or on paved roads. That said though, this car can still quite easily and without any stress manage these kind of bad and broken roads as well. No problem at all. It just glided through there, and now we are out on a normal paved road. Now I'm going to start driving this car slowly and then eventually proceed to get a little faster, so I make myself a little more comfortable with the car, its gearing, and how it overall handles. Very, very smooth car in terms of how it delivers its power. It's not at all abrupt. The clutch is super light. Actually, the clutch is really, really light. It just, you tap on it and it goes in. The steering on this car is, again, I mean, that is one of the things which Fiat cars are known for, and this car resonates that feeling where you have a nice connected steering. It is heavy, it's hydraulic, and it gives you that feel that when you put this car into a corner, the steering is going to translate everything that goes underneath the wheels directly to you. It's very communicative. It is kind of weighted, not heavy, but weighted in a way where it can accurately tell you what's going on underneath. Bad roads also, this car can take it very, very easily. Now, what we'll do is, I'm doing around 2000 RPM, 30 kmph, second gear, putting my foot down, 50, and that engine starts yelling. Oh, that is fast. Okay, that's actually quite fast. We did close to about 80 kilometers per hour just like that. Naturally aspirated, no, but turbocharged, but at the same time, you don't feel that turbo coming in suddenly abruptly somewhere in the middle of the rev range. It's actually quite linear. It doesn't interrupt your flow of speed and cornering. And the best part about this car or any other Fiat is how they handle. Like when you put the car into a corner, no matter what speed you're doing, it sticks, and the steering gives you exactly what you're doing, what's going on underneath the wheels. It is so communicative. It makes driving this car at any speed fun, whether you're doing slow speeds or if you're doing, let's say, 70-80 through corners. This car is still going to be so communicative. The steering is going to ensure that it tells you every time what's happening. If there's understeer, if it's oversteer, whatever it is, it will communicate with you very well. Once again, I'm around 2000 RPM, 30 kilometers per hour on second gear, putting my foot down, 50, 70, 90, and we have crossed 100. That's the maximum I am willing to go on these roads. These are public roads and they don't allow speeds more than that. So that's what we are going to do. But the way it gets there is incredible. I know there are a lot of people who complained about the Fiat gearboxes being slight bit rubbery, and they are, but they are not that rubbery that they are going to come in the way of you experiencing this car. They're not in a way where they are going to spoil or they're going to reduce your enjoyment and your engagement with how you experience this car and how you engage with this car. Because as a whole, this car, despite that rubbery gearbox, has a lot more fun going on about it, specifically that engine and that lightweight and that steering. You can actually push this car quite a bit in corners, on a straight line, no matter what is the maximum speed limit on your roads. Let's say, for example, here on the ORR, the speed limits are 120, and you can basically just pace this car at 120 and continue taking the corner at that speed as well. That is how well connected the steering, that is how well connected the suspensions and the rest of the dynamic bits feel about this car. Now, I have driven the regular Punto Abarth as well, and I'd say in terms of its overall handling, because this is 20 mm taller compared to the stock car, I'd say in terms of its regular handling, it's still pretty much there. It's not lost a lot of its handling charm. It still handles very well, especially when you look at this car from the outside, then come over here on the inside and start driving it. You suddenly forget that this car is actually raced by 20 mm. Brakes are good, it stops on time. Also, the pedals are very well positioned for heel and toe if you want to. In terms of how this car feels different from the Punto Abarth, is very minimal, and most of those differences are actually not over here on paved roads, but they are actually when you're unpaved roads, because where that car will bottom out, where that car will be slightly difficult to manage over broken patches of road, potholes, or anywhere where the road conditions are not that great. This is where this car comes in, and this car takes the same levels of performance, the same levels of grip, handling and everything, and brings it off-road. Unfortunately, in India, Fiat has been really unlucky in every kind of way, where when the company was in India, they were not very receptive to the brand in general. And second was its after sales, because there was a time when the after sales were handled by Tata. And I remember, this has been my personal experience, I had a Palio S10. I took that car to a Tata dealer asking for parts, and the guy literally, I'm not joking, okay, the guy literally laughed on my face. He's like, भैया आपको इसका तो सामान नहीं मिलने वाला. And I was like, okay, मेरे को उसी दिन समझ में आ गया कि okay, this is what I am going going to be dealing with if I am driving a Fiat in India. And we as automotive enthusiasts don't mind यार, हम लोग parts source कर लेते हैं, we go into WhatsApp groups, we go to extreme lengths to find parts to make sure that the cars we love driving on a daily basis or on the weekends are running in pristine health. That said though, regular people, normal people don't want to do that. They are completely the opposite, and unfortunately that is the reason these kind of cars never actually had that kind of a mass appeal, despite being a very well capable car both off-road as well as on-road. And I'm kind of sad that, you know, us Indians never realized how good this car could be. It had the capabilities, the speed, the performance of a hatchback while in a body shell or in a body style which could take you off-road. It was the best of both worlds. 140 horsepower hatchback आज के दिन में भी उसके बाद वापस नहीं आई है unless you're looking at a Mini Cooper or something which is 50 lakhs and above. So this car was placed and positioned very, very uniquely, and unfortunately none of us bought it. Very few of us actually bought it, and due to that I'm thankful to the owner who's been able to keep it in this beautiful state even after all these years. There are only very few people who are passionate like this, who will go to the lengths of finding parts for this car, to source parts, to make sure that the car is in this beautiful condition and maintain it throughout. It's been an absolute pleasure driving this car. Thank you so much to the owner of this car for letting me drive his rare and I'm pretty sure very prized possession. Okay, now last one thing which we are going to do is do a kind of a brake test. This is, as mentioned earlier, sitting on upsized tires but at the same time stock brakes. We are doing about 100 kilometers per hour, full brakes, no full in clutch, and man, before even the intersection came, we already stopped. The brakes are super strong. The good part about what I like about Fiat cars in general is, what I liked about this car in its braking is that if you're on a track or if you're in a kind of a sporty driving situation, the ABS didn't feel very intrusive at all. There are cars like my Polo and other cars in general, the ABS cuts in a lot earlier than what you expected. In this, the ABS didn't come. Even at that heavy braking, it was all taken care by the natural traction coming from those 225 section tires, and it managed it beautifully. I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know down in the comment section what you feel about this car, and if you've ever come across a similar one or if you've experienced it via a friend or somebody else. I'm open to suggestions and I'm looking forward to your comments. Please let me know down in the comment section. Thank you once again so much for watching. I'm going to see you in the next one. Till then, ciao.